The Society of Actuaries Research Institute recently released a report that covers the latest emerging trends in United States population mortality by looking at data that was furnished by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The observations in the report are based upon the CDC's recent release of the full extent of 2020 mortality experience. And we've looked at that information in comparison to prior mortality experience data from 1999 through 2019. Cindy, let me ask you, how has the analysis and report evolved, given this is the first year that we have this data that includes the COVID-19 pandemic? So what's new with the 2020 update?
Well, thank you, Dale. So similar to the past recent years, we've released a report in a PDF format, but the report this year has been expanded to include a couple more causes of death. COVID is the obvious one. We've also added hypertension since it was found to be one of the comorbidities in COVID victims. So there's expanded analysis around COVID. We have mortality improvement shown with and without COVID. We have an age group attribution with and without COVID. And it's pretty interesting because it shows just how COVID and non-COVID causes of death were not necessarily consistent in how they impacted different age groups. We also have a couple new Tableau dashboards for some quick visual insights. With these two new dashboards, along with the three we've had from prior years, you can easily drill down into different age, sex, and cause of death combinations to get some real quick understanding of just what happened in 2020.
No, that's important. And I've been pouring through the report as well, and there's a lot of good trend information here. What would you say are some of the more interesting findings in the analysis?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of facts you can pull out of here. Unfortunately, there aren't very many that you'd call positive. There's the obvious very large increase in overall mortality. The final number ended up being 16.8% increase over 2019. I think there's another very interesting fact, although it's troubling, and that's that if you exclude COVID causes of death, the mortality also increased by about 4.9%. And then if you were to drill down in just what's driving that 4.9% increase, you'll see that heart disease is a big reason. It was up 4.2%, which is quite unusual because heart disease has generally gone down over the past 20 years. And then there are several other causes of death with double-digit percent increases in 2020. You had diabetes up about 15%, liver up 16%, hypertension up 13%. But there is one bright spot in all of this, and that's in cancer deaths. They actually went down in 2020 about 1.5%. And that's continued a similar trend we've seen over the past 20 years. So some very good news there that the pandemic hasn't slowed that improvement in that area.
That's good to hear. And you also mentioned results, very interesting in different age groups. I'm sure we're seeing different things happen in different age groups. What are you seeing when you look at those age group breakdowns?
Yeah, again, difficult to find good news. So for the working age adults, rather, if you look at different causes of death, you'll see that they've actually been hurt more than like older age groups. So interesting results there. And then there's some very disturbing results for younger people. For ages 5 to 14, suicides were up 10%. And then for teenagers and young adults, we're seeing things like assaults that were up almost 36%. And then opioid drug overdoses were up about 61%. I do want to end here in this area on a positive note. There was some good news for very young children under the age of 5. So their mortality actually improved in 2020, around 2.5% to 5%. So that's good news to reassure the parents of young children.
And I know in past years we've kind of taken this and then also broadened it out into more of a socioeconomic analysis. Is there a socioeconomic analysis included like in prior years?
Yes. So we continue to have all this sex, age, and cause of death analysis by socioeconomic county quintile groups. And these quintile groups are based on a number of factors like income and education. So in here you can see things like how the gap between the mortality at the highest socioeconomic group versus the lowest socioeconomic group really widened in 2020. Mortality went up for all of the 5 quintile groups, but it's just that it went up more for the lowest socioeconomic group than the highest. And then you can also drill down and see how COVID and other non-COVID causes of death impacted the various socioeconomic quintile groups, and see just which causes of death contributed to that increase in the gap.
Cindy, a lot of good information here. I know we'll be digging further into the Tableau dashboards, the report, to see a lot of the deeper information there. Thanks for stopping by to discuss this U.S. population mortality observations updated with the 2020 experience.
Thank you, Dale.
And if you have questions or feedback about this report, we really value that. I would encourage you to send us an email at research@soa.org. We'd love to hear more what you're thinking about on this report and others. This U.S. population mortality observations updated with the 2020 experience is on the SOA website. So just go to soa.org. And then if you click on the Research Institute, you'll see among the listings there are U.S. population studies. Pull down on that, and quickly this 2020 experience information will be there as well. Thanks for joining us today to learn about more projects coming from the Society of Actuaries Research Institute.